Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on payment for environmental services in the context of sugarcane production. I hope you are all hearing us well. My name is Livia Inácio. I am Bonsucro's country manager in Brazil. Bonsucro is a nonprofit organization that promotes sustainability in the sugarcane production, processing, and trades around the world through projects and also through our certification scheme. So first, I would like to give you some very quick technical orientations. So the estimated time for this webinar is 1 hour. You are all joining the session automatically on mute. And we're going to start with a 30-minute presentation, and then we'll have a moment to interact with you. And as we go through the presentation, you feel free to post your comments, your thoughts, and questions in the Q&A or in the chat button that you can find in the bottom of the Zoom. And also in the end of the presentation, feel free to use the button of raise hands in the Zoom if you want us to open your microphone to speak with us. I'm going to also ask my colleagues on the panel to post the link for you to download the report that we are launching today on PES. And we invite you all to read. So this work was a partnership between a few organizations, so Bonsucro, the Earth Innovation Institute, Solidariedade Brazil, Orplana, Socicana, and Geoflorestas. And now I would like to quickly invite some of our partners that are here today with me in this call to very quickly welcome you and to share a few words. So let me invite João Shimada from the Earth Innovation to welcome the audience. João, with you.
Sorry, first of all, this is a trouble to work at home. Sorry, I will close the door.
Amelia, would you like to go first?
Yes, that's fine.
Sorry.
I think John.
Okay, John, back. Good.
Yeah. Oh, closing the door. Sorry, this is my dog.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, my name is João Shimada. I am a researcher at Earth Innovation Institute. Earth Innovation is a research center, research institute, corporation, or we are dedicated to develop the low rural emission development, and we are based in US, in California, with regional offices in Indonesia, Peru, Colombia, and in Brazil, here in Mato Grosso, where I am based. For us to support this study, this research is quite important because a payment for environmental services is huge important in order to get a large-scale engagement for farmers in Brazil to issues like climate change or sustainability in a rural area. Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate Livia for this amazing work and to welcome everyone to this discussion, and I hope we can develop this deep in the future. Thank you, Livia.
Thank you very much, João. So let me hand over to Aline Silva from Solidariedade Brazil.
Hello, everyone. Morning, afternoon, evening. I would like to welcome all of you to our webinar. I am Aline Silva. I am a sugarcane project manager at Solidariedade in Brazil. Solidariedad is a network organization that it's an international civil society organization that works developing sustainable agricultural chains. One of them is sugarcane. And we're looking for, through our initiatives and projects, to accelerate the transition to an inclusive and low carbon production. Globally, Solidaridad Network operates in more than 40 countries, always with this mission of support inclusive and sustainable economy through its interventions. Specifically in sugarcane chain, Solidaridad has been working with important players such as Bonsucro. And in Brazil, we join with the farmers' representatives, such as Orplana, that's the main one, and Sugarcane too. In this sense, we join again Bonsucro and other partners to understand how the payment of environmental service can be applied in the sugarcane chain, focus in benefit farmers who are an important supplier of these environmental services. And so I hope you enjoy this presentation and also the report that we work together. And I would like to invite you to join us in these discussions about how to make the payment for environmental services reality in the sugarcane supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eleni. So I'd like to invite Rafael Kalaki from Susicana also to welcome the team.
Hello, thanks Livia for inviting to collaborate with this study, with this project. I'm Rafael Kalaki. I'm CEO at Susicana. Susicana, it's a sugarcane grower association of Guariba. Today, Susicana has 1,200 farmers, members, and these farmers together represent about 6 million tons of sugarcane. I think for Susicana, motivation to collaborate with this project is that these projects are totally in line with Susicana works, is to seek to recognize that their member works and help as well to create value for them with a strong focus on sustainability. So our goal with this study is to seek some ideas inside benchmarking of solution inputs to try to design a program for payment for environment service. Focus, of course, in sugarcane. For Susicana, this study brought a lot of insights, and I hope this study bring insights, great insights and contribution for everyone. So thanks.
Thank you very much you all for the introductions. So I'm going to start now with our 30-minute presentation on the content of the report. And this is the agenda for our session today. So we're going to start understanding a little bit more the context of this project. And then we're going to see its objectives, how we have done everything, the method that was used. Then we're going to see the results and close with a conclusion and some suggestion for future actions. Important to mention that we won't go through every detail of the report and only the key highlights. And again, we invite you all to have a pleasant reading. So to start and to warm up, we would like to ask yourselves a question about what comes to your mind with the term PES, Payment for Environmental Services. So we would like to invite you to go to menti.com and enter the code that you are seeing in the screen. And feel free to share, that can be a word, a sentence, a question. Feel free to share your initial reflections about the topic with us. And I'm gonna plot the results here live on the screen. So, again, if you could, we can give a minute for that. So please, if you could go to menti.com and enter the code that you are seeing here on the screen and share with us. comes to your mind with PES? And we'll start getting some ideas on valuing, recognition, value again. The idea is to build this nice word mapping. Lots of things are popping up on the screen. So conservation, funding partner, climate change, game, contract. I've seen also ecotourism, economic benefit, and value is still in the center of our map. Very nice. Enabling, offsetting, large scale, wood, justice. Nice, very, very nice ideas. Good. Balance, I like that one. Financial instruments, very important. Fairness, equity, very nice. I think we have a nice map in front of us, and we can see that the word value or valuing remains in the center. So that's very, very interesting. Thank you very much for sharing these thoughts with us. So I'm going to go back to our presentation and start sharing with you about the context of this work that we have developed throughout 2020. So this topic, PES, came mainly as an input from our farmers representatives that are located here in Brazil and that are also our partners. They understood that there was a necessity to understand a little bit more about it, given the current situation and the current scenario that Brazil is facing regarding environmental conservation and environmental topics. And the whole idea of this project was to work as a starting point, as an initial baseline, and in order to be able to collaborate with the sector's agenda. So really, let's understand what we have, the as-is situation, so that we can create an agenda in advance with the topic. And this project and this work could not be more timely considering the current Brazilian situation that very recently, so less than a month ago, in January 2021, has approved a new law that is the National PES Policy, so the Brazilian National Payment for Environmental Services policy. So the objective of this policy is really to bring some legal perspective and foster an environment for PES models to really encourage payment for environmental services in Brazil. We won't go into much detail of the policy now, but it's important to mention to you a little bit about the content of it. And for that, I'm going to also ask my colleagues to post a link on the chat that you'll be able to open the policy. Of course, it's all in Portuguese, but just for your reference. In the policy, you'll be able to see some definitions. So what exactly an environmental service is, what types of payments we're talking about. So you'll be able to get some more knowledge about it. You'll be also able to see some guidelines. So, and the main one here for our discussion is that the Brazilian policy considers that the ones that use the environmental services should be the ones to pay for it, and the ones who provide those services should be the ones to receive resources. This policy also launches a federal program that today has already a name. It's Floresta Mais, and in English this is Forest Plus, that it will be the main responsible to implement the content of the policy. And in the document of the chat, you'll also be able to see its sections and the criteria. So for example, what types of conservation actions does this policy contemplate, the types of agricultural assets that could be eligible to it as well. So you can see that it could not be more timely to speak about PES considering our national scenario here. So, and also it's important to start with three main concepts that we have used in our work and that are also reflected in the policy. The first one is around what an ecosystem service is and its difference between the environmental service. So basically, an ecosystem service is a benefit to society that is generated by ecosystems or its components in terms of really maintaining, recovering, or improving the environmental conditions that are essential for our lives. So this is pretty much the literal meaning of an ecosystem service. When we check the definition of an environmental service, here we are adding a new element that is man. So the anthropic action. So an environmental service is an individual or a collective activity that really favors the maintenance, the recovery, or the improvement of the ecosystem services. So this is when men contribute for the ecosystem services to be maintained, recovered, or improved. So that is basically the difference between the two concepts here. Now, when we add the third important definition for our work, which is the payment for environmental services, essentially this is a voluntary transaction whereby a payer for a service transfers resources to a provider of these services, and that could either be financial resources or any other type of remuneration under certain conditions. So these three concepts are basic for our work that was developed. Now, what did we want with this work? Our first objective was to really understand the concept of what it is as PES and its main existing initiatives, both at local, national level here in Brazil, but also at international level. We also wanted to understand the link between PES and the sugarcane production. We also wanted to bring important stakeholders and actors together, both national and international actors, to debate the topic, so that we could finally translate it into opportunities and challenges related to the topic. And as I said, this report that you're accessing today is the product of this work, and we're calling it an insights report, which is pretty much connected to the context of this project that aims at being a baseline, a starting point for the discussion of PES and sugarcane. So the method that was used for this work was divided in two phases. So the first one, we called it a mapping of existing initiatives that were already working with the concept of PES. So for that, we have performed an exploratory desk research using public resources, and we have worked in categorizing these initiatives, and we have also produced some executive summary tables characterizing each one of those initiatives that were found. Also, we have produced some maps to know where these projects are located. And then we wanted to explore this topic a little bit deeper, and we go to the phase 2 of this project. That was an interview with a set of experts that have relations with the sugarcane value chain. So we have performed 15 interviews with experts, both at national and international level, public and private sectors as well. It was a very diverse range of stakeholders that we have spoken with. And we have tried to extract and capture insights from these experts and translate them into opportunities and challenges. Still within the method that we have used, we have come to 5 categories of environmental services that came mainly from phase 1, from the mapping of initiatives. So these would be the types of environmental services that we are looking at the moment. The first environmental service category that we used is called resources management. This is pretty much a broader management of natural resources as a whole, such as water conservation, soil integrity, preservation of vegetation, but without a specific aim, without a specific objective. It's about managing the environment as a whole. The second type of environmental service, we have called it water resources management. And this indeed is a specific management of water resources, for example, such as the need for reforestation of the buffer area for water production, reducing eutrophication, conservation of water for human, animal, or agricultural uses. So specifically looking at water. The third category is called biodiversity conservation. It is about conserving endangered species, both animal or plant. And it focuses on developing areas in order to support the presence of related species. So this is pretty much the biodiversity conservation. The fourth category is called forest conservation. And this is about conserving or restoring forests and vegetation as the main focus of investment. And this is where we enable farmers or landowners to financially manage their forest land without having to deforest. So pretty much the essence here is no deforestation, foster no deforestation practices. And the fifth category, we have called it carbon credit. And this is when the environmental action is focused on GHG, greenhouse gas emissions mitigation, and the payout given to the farmers or landowners is mostly in the form of carbon credits. So this is pretty much a map of the types of environmental services that we have come to during the first phase of the project. And now starting to talk a little bit about the findings, so the results that we've got under the phase one. We have come to 50 projects that already work with payment for environmental services. They come from 16 countries, from all of the continents of the world. And we have picked these 50 projects because we have understood they would be able to generate more learnings to the sugarcane sector, because there are way more initiatives and projects in place that already work with the concept. But these 50 were elected by the team of this project as the most important ones for sugarcane that could either have sugarcane as a commodity to apply, PES, or that could generate learnings for sugarcane. And we won't present these projects now to you. We again invite you to go to the report and have a read at the summary tables and all the key information about these projects. But there are two statistics that came from these projects that we would like to share with you. One is around what type of environmental service was predominant among these projects. And with almost 70%, these 50 projects were around forest conservation as an environmental service. So no deforestation practices being incentivized. In the second place, we have carbon credits with 20% of these projects. And the other three categories of environmental services, they're summing up 12% of the other projects that we have found. Another interesting statistic is around how these projects are being led and are being structured. So almost half of them, 46%, are public-private partnerships. So when public sector and the private one goes together and develop the initiative. In the second place, we've got 22% of the projects that are public-only initiatives. Then we have with 16% the ones that are led by NGOs. And finally, with 14%, we've got projects that are private-only initiatives or projects that are led by international funds. So about this first phase, this is pretty much what we wanted to share with you. Now, when we go to the second phase and the results of the interviews that we have performed, we could capture insights on the benefits of a PES program. We also captured insights around the priorities of environmental services. So which one of those 5 types of environmental services should be prioritized at this stage? We also had captured challenges and opportunities, as I've already mentioned, and we have also tried to explore potential PES models, so ways of setting a program that could be viable and that could be a reality in order to turn the concept into something practical. So when we start looking at the benefits that came from our interviewees, we could summarize them in 3 main benefits. The first one that was brought to us is that a PES program has a very clear benefit of adding financial value to producers while ensuring environmental preservation. So this is pretty much the main benefit of a PES program, allowing the marriage of financial return and environmental preservation to happen. A second very clear benefit that came from our interviewees is that a PES program provides a benefit on being a guidance on how, so the best practices, and how much should be preserved. So this has also a very interesting value added because it really works as something practical to be followed by the producers. And the third benefit is around how a PES program allows enhancing livelihoods within the region it is developed, because they usually come with resources and they usually contribute to improve the lives and the conditions of life that people that live in the region where they are developed. So pretty much we could summarize all the benefits that were brought to us in those 3 main ones. Now, we would like to invite you to go back to menti.com and share with us your thoughts on which environmental service from those 5 that we have spoken about has the highest priority to be fostered right now. So if you could go again to Mentimeter and set up your own ranking. We would like to have these thoughts from you, and I'm gonna put on the screen again now the question and the 5 environmental services that we have as categories, and we would like to invite you to share your own ranking with us. This is a random one, and we'll be able to see the ranking of you as you go. So if you can give another minute for that, for you to go to menti.com and enter the code here on the screen. And now we start seeing some results. Carbon credit, forest conservation, and keeps changing. Nice. We have forest conservation in the first place, then followed by carbon credit, now biodiversity conservation. Interesting, keeps changing. We can give like 30 seconds to elect the winner. Apparently it's forest conservation. All right, I think we've got one. So here, according to you, the first priority would be forest conservation, then followed by biodiversity conservation, and now it keeps changing. Now we have biodiversity as the first. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna give the final results when 30 seconds. All right, I think we can stop for now. So we have biodiversity conservation as the first one. forest conservation in the second, carbon credit, water resources in the fourth place, and we finish with resources management as a whole. Thank you very much for your contributions. So I'm gonna go back to our presentation. And now I'd like to share with you the results from our interviewees. So what exactly is their priority in terms of environmental conservation? And I'm glad to see that I think the first place is the same that you have shared with us. So for you, the biodiversity conservation is the most, has the highest priority. And in our overall result, this was followed by forest conservation and water resources management in the second and third places. It was a tie, actually, and as well the fourth and the fifth places with resources management and carbon credits as well was a tie to share the fourth and the fifth places. So this was the result that came from our interviews with the experts. If you go to the report, you'll be also able to see the priorities for each segment of stakeholder. So for example, you'll be able to see what the priorities are for the banks that we have spoken with, for the multinationals that we have spoken with, for the public sector that we have interviewed. So you'll be able to see more details about the priorities for each one of the segments, okay? Well, now we reached the point where we could translate these interviews into challenges and opportunities, and we could obtain 2 challenges to implement the concept of PES and 5 opportunities for the sugarcane sector, and not exactly only for the sugarcane sector, but we could go a little bit further and apply these opportunities for other types of commodities as well. And starting with the challenges. So the first one that we have realized is that there is a lack of common understanding on the concept of PES. So when they were first asked about PES, most of our interviewees, they needed us to explore the concept a little bit so that they could share their thoughts with us. So that made us realize that this concept of PES is not fully disseminated among the organizations, both public and private. So we need to have more education and standardization around it. So this could be a real challenge for the implementation of PES. The second challenge here is that there is no ideal PES model, that local adaptations are probably going to be needed. And what we mean here by model is that, for example, the types of assets that could be eligible for payment for environmental services, the KPIs that could be used to monitor the work, who would be to pay and who would be to receive these resources, the benefits for both parties. So basically, this challenge is that when it comes to defining the structure of a PES program, there is no unique way. And the local characteristics are probably going to be taken into consideration. Now, when we go to the opportunities, the 5 opportunities, the first one is around how agriculture and conservation are complementary concepts. Although this could also be taken as a challenge, right? There is a big opportunity here, according to our interviewees, to spread the message based on data and based on facts. So the concept, and according to them, the concept of payment for environmental services translates this relationship, this marriage very well, and it can really help to take this message that agriculture and conservation are complementary really further. The second opportunity here is on how the market has been increasing recognition of good practices, either voluntary or also the full compliance with environmental legislation. All this is being more and more observed and recognized by the market in many different ways. So here, the opportunity is for the sugarcane sector to be more exposed to this environment when of course they're able to prove and to show that they preserve the environment. The third opportunity here is that all our interviewees recognize that the concept of PES and its models, they really generate positive impact, and that there is appetite, as we have seen. So all the interviewees, they see PES as a tool to generate impact on the ground, as we saw previously in the benefits. So again, it is another opportunity to catch and to show how the sugarcane sector can really generate positive impact, environmental impact on the ground. Then the fourth opportunity was around certification, and it was mostly understood as a PES model. So since any certification scheme usually has criteria and offers a framework to quantify and pack these environmental services, and usually a certification already has instruments in place to put these environmental services available on the market for your trades. So there was a perception among most of the interviewees that paying a premium for a certified product could be understood and labeled as a type of payment for an environmental service that is eventually provided by a sugarcane producer or any other type of rural producer. And finally, the fifth opportunity that was mapped is really that sugarcane producers are providers of environmental services. They should be recognized and eligible to access PES programs. And it was understood that they really provide all those 5 types of environmental services that were mapped out. And it was also mentioned that in Brazil, specifically, the program RenovaBio could be labeled as the most successful PES programs nowadays for sugarcane. And for those of you who are not familiar, so this RenovaBio program is the Brazilian national biofuel program that was created to allow sugarcane or any biofuel producers, in our case bioethanol, to offer decarbonization credits in the market, so that Brazil could meet its Paris Agreement commitments. So this was brought. And at the same time, another opportunity under this one came to expand actually the market of these types of environmental services that are offered by sugarcane production, not only carbon, so to really expand that, these environmental services beyond carbon. So this also came up. And to finalize the results, we have also tried to translate the models, so to capture some potential models of payment for environmental services that could help to turn the concept into reality. We have already spoken a little bit about certification. This would be a first option, a first model. Also, we have mentioned carbon credits markets. So these markets could also be taken as a way to recognize and remunerate the carbon service provided by sugarcane farmers. A third model that was mentioned is around government programs. For example, when specific government converts part of the taxes that it collects and turns it into a specific fund that will remunerate or recognize environmental services provided by farmers. This could be a way. Another way would be the conversion of environmental fines. So convert part of these resources also to remunerate environmental services. So there are a few mechanisms that could be public and also led by governments. Also, another model that came to turn PES into reality is the access for sustainable financial products. So when a specific asset or a specific project has the potential to really show and quantify its environmental services, these could access special conditions, special financial conditions for loans, for bonds, for insurances. So this could also be labeled as a way to pay for an environmental service of these projects or assets. And finally, it was also mentioned that these programs that are led by the brands with their suppliers could also be labeled as payment for environmental services when a specific supplier has the potential to show that it's preserving the environment and show with metrics and KPIs, and it goes into a special ranking in the supplying system of a brand. This could also be taken and labeled as PES. So just an initial exercise to map how this PES concept could be turned into a practice. And now we would like to close with the conclusion of the study and the future actions that we were able to list in order to address the challenges that we have mapped and also leverage the opportunities that we have found. So the first action is around really maturing the concept of PES in the sector. So really advancing and promoting more discussions, more forums on the topic to really keep working with this synergy that we have seen, that there is a synergy between the sugarcane production and payment for environmental services. In the second place, another action going forward would be to disseminate the existing programs. So not only the 50 projects that we have found, but all the projects in place that already work with this concept should be disseminated and taken further. The third action would be to really explore how to quantify, how to put a number, to put a value in those different environmental services. So there are methodologies in place, as we have seen, and you see in the details of those projects. So we should be exploring how we could use these methodologies to really value and put some numbers on those environmental services. The fourth action is really on getting together and using associations, multi-stakeholder platforms to really get together and articulate with the public and the private initiatives to really advance with this agenda at a sector, national, and international level as well. And finally, the last action is around developing and really sharing a more robust narrative on how the sugarcane production has the potential to provide environmental services, and really based on data, based on numbers that we have, really work a little bit deeper on this narrative to really promote the sugarcane production and make it eligible to access those types of resources. So that's it, what we wanted to share with you on the results of the report. So I think now enough of my voice. I'm gonna have a look at the chat and the Q&A if we have any questions or any comments or someone that wants us to open the microphone. In the meantime, I'd like to ask if my colleagues from Solidaridad, the Earth Innovation, and Susicana, if you guys want to share any thoughts with us. So apparently we don't have any questions now in the chat, not yet. Not in the Q&A. I'd like to check if someone wants us to open the microphone. Apparently there is one person. I'm not sure, Saleh, if you want us to open your microphone or if it's just to say hello. But you're allowed to talk, Saleh, if you want to unmute yourself and share your thoughts with us. It's open.
Okay, great. Thank you. So thank you very much for such a fantastic presentation. I'm representing Tijara Trading Company. Thank you for such a great, it's a fantastic presentation. And it's a great initiative to see that this sort of thing is in the works to, to basically try and help out in terms of the environment with respect to sugarcane production. My only comment is, when it comes to these kind of things, collecting monies for environmental services, what we find is that you have an administration organization that is running this thing, and most of the money is collected by whatever means goes for the administration, and very little get put into the program. So my only point is that when something like this comes on stream, that the organization looks at ways to minimize on the administration cost, so that basically the bulk of the money gets put into the services. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sele, for your interesting comment. I'd like to see if anyone wants to comment back, because now I think we are having more questions on the chat and the Q&A. Does anyone want to comment at this point? So there are two questions here in the Q&A. I'm going to start with the first from Josh Harrop. So beyond RenovaBio, if we could share a little bit more about other PES programs, initiatives in Brazil, for example, for water, utility PES programs, or soil carbon. Josh, I'm gonna share with you my my thoughts, what I know about it. So under the national program that we have mentioned, that is called Forest Plus, there is an arm of it that is called Forest Plus Carbon, that has that same objective. So really keep forests standing and work in the carbon sequestration of it. And there is a pilot going on for this arm of the national program that is being that is taking place right now in the Amazon ecosystem. So it's still at pilot stage. It's actually the first effort, the first real action of this program, and it's really working on the carbon perspective in the Amazon ecosystem. So this is an example. There was another program, I won't remember the name of it, but also led by a private company here in Brazil. You'll be able to see in the report, that works also specifically with water and preservation of specific water resources that surround the operations of this company. So you'll be also able to see the details on the report. Not sure if Aline, Rafael, or João, if you want to share any other thoughts on that?
Specific for sugarcane, no, just RenovaBio, and the other programs is not specific for sugarcane. It's for agriculture as all.
Exactly. Thank you, Rafael. Another question. So it's around out of the programs that were encountered, if we could comment on baseline verification burden of these programs. Are they prohibitively expensive or time consuming? I'm afraid we didn't go into that much detail in terms of the costs and the time that were consumed by those projects, Josh. But feel free to open your microphone and share a little bit more with us of what you mean exactly by that. But we just made this exploratory desk research. We were not able to interview people from those programs. It was just a generic overview of these projects, and unfortunately we were not able to explore this cost side of it. But thank you very much for your comment. A few more things coming. So if we are aware of any agencies, organizations doing this in Mexico, we have not mapped anything in Mexico, if I'm not wrong, but in Central America, there was something in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. but in Mexico, I'm afraid we have not mapped any initiative in place that we could pick to apply for sugarcane. This was the question from Jose Loyo. Thank you very much. Just gonna check if there is anyone with the hands raising. Yes, so I'm gonna hand over to Jesus from Solidaridad, Jesus Esparza, that has his hands raised. You're allowed to talk, Jesus. Hello.
Thank you, Olivia. Hello. It is a pleasure to address you from the Netherlands. Hello, Aline, as well. So I was just, well, first I wanted to congratulate you on your amazing work. It is fascinating to see these very interesting results. And well, thank you for taking the opportunity, you know, to lead this research and also to show us, you know, what you have found. Well, my question is more like, well, we know that with good practices, farmers can improve, you know, the environment. They can help reduce emissions. They can even capture carbon with different technologies. So, well, my question is, would a certification system, like for instance, in this case, well, Bonsucro, could enable, you know, farmers to emit certificates, you know, in the sense of, I don't know, carbon capturing, and then, you know, make it easier for the trading, so then the farmers can have direct access to this revenue?
Well, Jesus, the Bonsucro certificate, when you have a certified volume, this volume has attached to it a set of different characteristics, including carbon. So in the Bonsucro standard, you'll be able to see the metric of it and a specific threshold for carbon. So this is what is embedded in this certified volume. And this would be right now the only instruments that the farmers would have to really show that they have this, that they provide this environmental service. I'm not sure if you have any other ideas of how this could be materialized. If you do, you mean anything specific, or
right, well, just for instance, you know, there is carbon stocks that are, you know, somehow mapped on the ground, and that, well, by preserving the forest, or, you know, or even, you know, replanting, you know, those carbon feedstocks can be replenished. And well, we in the case of sugarcane, well, we have also you know, with the biomass capturing and all that. So yeah, I was just wondering if perhaps that could be a stretch for Bonsucro, or it could be an idea, you know, to explore further.
Perfect. That's a good idea, I think, to explore further, because now currently the Bonsucro certificate does not allow any farmer to, you know, commercialize into this specific carbon markets. So I think this would be an improvement for us to develop, but open for discussion, of course, with my colleagues from Bonsucro, that I think some of them are here. If they want to raise their hands and share their thoughts, they're always welcome. Thank you very much, Jesus. There are more hands raised. Oh yeah, so Josh, I'm gonna allow you to talk. Now you're able to unmute yourself and share your thoughts with us, Josh.
Brilliant. Sorry for the delay there, but I had to wait on Jesus, I think, to understand how to do this. Hey, thanks. I'd echo that sentiment. What an amazing presentation and direction you're going with this, and so timely. I'm coming from a broader perspective than sugarcane, but very much interested in PES in Brazil. And that's where my questions come from, is your experience or your optimism or expectations within the Brazilian context. There are actually other programs. The São Paulo Water Authority, for example, is working with Nature Conservancy on PES for water management and so on. So I guess I was asking about, what did you find from looking at those with my first question? Did you find that there's an array of existing frameworks for PES that you could apply beyond just RenovaBio? The second question was about the baselining. I know that in sugarcane, I used to work for Shell, and Hazen is one of the ventures, is dependent on a lot of small holdings. And so things like verifying and baselining can be extremely expensive on a property basis. So that's where my two questions were coming from is, yeah, what's your sense for the existing systems here in Brazil? And did you get a sort of a reflection in terms of how affordable it will be to implement PES, particularly that baseline and assurance stuff?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Josh, for bringing that up. I'm going to try the first one. So you've mentioned if we sense there are more initiatives here in the country beyond renewable bio, and our sense is that yes, there are many. My sense of this is that yes, there are many initiatives in place that are still not labeled or recognized, or even people just don't think about them as PES because of the lack of the knowledge of the concept. So I have come across a few programs that are being led by cities, specific cities, and they're not big cities, they're small cities, and they have this essence. Essentially, they are a mechanism to pay those farmers for the environmental services that are being offered. But another thing that we have found, you'll read that in the report, is that sometimes, or I would say not sometimes, but maybe most of the times, those small programs, they are confused with programs that have some kind of social assistant. I'm not sure about the word in English, but with some sort of assistance, direct assistance to these communities. So they're not yet labeled as PES, but they have a nice structure that could be considered PES. So my sense is that there are a lot of things in place, but that are still not labeled or recognized as a mechanism for PES. And about the second question about the cost and how affordable this would be, I would like to invite my colleagues, maybe Rafael from Susicana or Aline, to share their thoughts if you have a sense on how affordable these programs would be. If you'd like to share your thoughts.
Yeah, yes, I can. I agree with the first question that you answered. It's a lot of small projects, initiatives that's not called EPS in Brazil, but there is. And I think our study demonstrates that we need to organize it, organize it and discuss about it with the chain, the actors in the chain, such as mills and academics and the farmers, to explain the concept. And yes, I think there is a opportunity to expand this because we have a lot of initiatives that is linked with APS, just not call it. So I think it's a great opportunity, mainly for the farmers.
Thank you.
Talini, and on the question of baselining and verification or assurance particularly for small holding, for example, sugar contractors.
Would you like to go for this, Rafael?
Sorry, the connection is not so good. I didn't listen the Livia answer, but and just listen a part of Aline answer. So I try to make some contribution. Yes, there is a lot of opportunity to environment servicing, especially for sugarcane, because the sugarcane environment services, it's already recognized. For example, we have a Bonsucro, have a renewable program. The renewable program recognizes the environment service for sugarcane, but just specific parts of sugarcane. The part of sugarcane is used to make ethanol. There's another part of sugarcane that's used to make sugar, for example, provide the same environmental service, but it's not recognized. So I think we have a great opportunity to try to design a kind of model to environmental service. And I think a good way to do it, it's used to association or cooperative to help the small farmers, the smallholders, to improve the sustainability, create some kind of certification, some kind of method to help these farmers to show how the benefits of the sugarcane if they produce. I don't know. I'm clean for you, Josh. It's everything. I'm clean for you.
I think he's muted, Rafael, but
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. I'm afraid because of the time, we're gonna have to close. And we will follow up with you all per email for the remaining, for the unanswered questions that remained here in the Q&A. There are a few, so we're gonna follow up with you per email. And before we close, I'll just like to emphasize to you that when you leave Zoom, you're going to see a window of a one-question feedback survey, and it's very important for us that you answer it with your honest opinion about this webinar, so that we can always improve and advance with this agenda. So I'm not sure if Rafael, Lini, or João, if you have any final words, but we hope you all have enjoyed this session, that you have a pleasant reading of the report. And I'd like to thank you all very much for attending this session, and see you all next time. Thank you.